Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we'll be taking a look at one of my favorite FPS games of all time. The game we'll be taking a look at today is Doom. Doom is a game that needs no introduction. It was first released in 1993 on PC, and it became an instant hit, and it set the standard for the first-person shooter genre. The game spawned a bunch of sequels and ports. The two ports we'll be taking a look at is the Sega 32X and Super Nintendo version. Let's start with the 32X port. The 32X port of Doom was developed and published by Sega and released on November 21st, 1994 as a launch title for the 32X add-on for the Genesis. This port is notable for being the first console port of Doom to ever be released onto store shelves. This version is also notable for being horribly rushed in order to meet the launch for the 32X, and oh god, it shows. The game only contains 17 levels from the first two episodes. The last level from episode 2 and the entirety of episode 3 is missing in this port. A DOS prompt shows up after the credits roll if the player finishes the game using either cheats or starting from any level other than the first level, locking up the game. The BFG 9000 can only be obtained through the use of cheats due to the lack of episode 3. The soundtrack in this port is hilariously bad due to the rushed nature of this port. Just take a listen. And there's also some sound effects missing. Similar to most mid-90s Doom ports, the levels are based off of the Atari Jaguar port. This version does not feature the Cyber Demon, the Spider Mastermind, and the Spectre. There is a level select option that allows the player to start from any of the first 15 levels, although there is no way to save the game or the settings. The game does not run in full screen, but the game plays smoothly, and there's barely any frame drops. Overall, Doom on 32X is not a bad port, but it only suffers from poor quality due to being rushed to make the launch lineup for Sega's ill-fated 32X add-on. This version really could have been better if it had a little more development time. The modding community has swept in and made Doom 32X Resurrection, which fixes the issues from the vanilla 32X version, and it makes the game better. Now, let's move on to the Super Nintendo port. The Super Nintendo port of Doom was developed by Sculptured Software and published by Williams Entertainment and released in 1995. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. The Super Nintendo version of Doom is awful. The game runs extremely slow, the enemies are extremely pixelated from far away, and it's really hard to tell what you're looking at. There's also some frames of animation that were missing in this port. This version also lacks both battery backup, saves, and a password system, meaning that each episode must be finished from the beginning. This version lacks the Spectre enemy replaced with regular demon monsters, though it does feature the Cyber Demon and Spider Mastermind boss monsters that the Atari Jaguar 32X and 3DO versions lack. The few positive things I can say about this port are, the soundtrack got an awesome rendition on the Super-NES, and this version contains levels that were missing on the 32X and Jaguar ports, but it's missing a few levels. The levels included resemble the PC levels more so than the other ports. There's also a map that you can pull up to see where you're at, which that feature was implemented in later Doom ports. This was one of the 9 games on the SNES to make use of the Super FX chip, one of the 3 games that had different colored cartridges, and it was one of the only 3 SNES games to be rated M for mature by the ESRB. I would totally recommend playing Doom, but whatever you do, avoid the Super Nintendo version at all costs. Okay, here's the real question. Which port is better? Personally, if you ask me, both of these ports missed the mark in a number of ways. The 32X port suffered from poor quality due to being rushed by Sega in order to meet the 32X launch, and it was missing a ton of levels. The Super Nintendo version features more levels and features than the 32X port, and it has an awesome soundtrack, but this version runs extremely poorly and it's just a shitty port of Doom. Overall, I would say the 32X version is the better port, but it's definitely not the best port of Doom. There's so many better ports to play. The definitive version of Doom will always be the PC version, but most of the console ports aren't too bad. If you had to buy one of the ports that I mentioned in this video, then the 32X version is the way to go. That's one win for Sega. Well folks, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I plan on doing more of these videos in the future, and until next time, thank you for watching. Bye!